All right. Hey, everybody. Jared Jones. How hot is the real estate market? The real estate market is hotter than a jalapeno's armpits. The real estate market is hotter than a pepper patch in hell.
What?
I don't even know what that means. But here we go.
Okay.
Listen, I get the common question as we're selling houses in Central Florida, talking to real estate brokers all over North America and Canada and around the world. And the question keeps coming up, then what does the future hold?
I don't know.
Here's where I am really find things are, interesting at this point. I just read an article today, in fact, I'll just pull this right back up, about how this home buyer who's shopping in DC was making offers in the $800,000 price range, looking in the 850s. And they're not writing offers $50,000 over. They're writing offers like $80,000 and $100,000 over. And they're getting beat by offers that are going $200,000 and $250,000 over the asking price. Central Florida, same thing. In a marketplace that's actually very hot, the home will be on and off the market in 5 or 6 days. In marketplaces that are a little bit softer, out of town, those homes will last no more than a week, maybe 2. And so as you look at all the data that's coming out, okay, you're seeing, inventory is going down to record lows. You have the reality of a lot of people that are still on forbearance, which these are people that were theoretically in trouble with COVID, millions of jobs lost. They go to their mortgage lenders and they obviously got their mortgage stalled, the foreclosure action stalled. So they're missing payments, they're skipping payments without actually having any detriment to themselves for that. Now, understand this. One of the major things that we're going to cause, by most pundits, issues down the road, okay? Thinking even fourth quarter of 2021, looking at the real estate market, concerned that there just might be problems because of delinquencies are climbing, the amount of people that were in forbearance, which is like 5% of all the mortgages alone are just in a pause position based on forbearance itself. All these theoretically are homes that a good portion of them need to be put on the market because the person may not be able to handle the payment and all those kinds of things. Now, recently, in the past 6 weeks, all the White House and the different federal agencies are coming out and extending things like eviction moratoriums, foreclosure moratoriums, and forbearance moratoriums. Okay, so what that means is there is a concerted effort to push the initial ripple effects, the progressive damage from the COVID situation down the road, okay? So what I mean is, in time of crisis, you have an impact point, and if you think of it like water, there's gonna be a rippling effect from that main event that causes, different bumps along the way that are in concentric circles, that these, bumpy spots, that, this might be job loss, it might be market crisis, it might be changes in interest rates. It's going to be some kind of market consequence based on the hurt, the harm, the things that happened in the intentional trauma, the crisis of the marketplace. Now, in our case, what the Fed is doing, what our central planners are doing, what our government is doing, is they're pushing the ripples out further. Okay, so it's not mitigating the damage, okay? It's not mitigating the harm to the person that is in a position where they can't make their house payment. It's kicking the can, so to speak, okay? Now, when you look at the rest of the picture, okay, you have interest rates that went to record lows in the fourth quarter of last year. Back in December, and ever since, interest rates have been steadily climbing. You have nearly 1%, it's like 70 basis points, about 3/4 of a percentage point increase in interest rates since the end of last year. Now, at the same time, you've got a lot of pressure on supply channel, okay? So you had all the lumber companies, they all paused their operations last year like everybody else in the first 15 days to stem the tide of the COVID situation. And what happened is when they even came back and reopened the lumber mills, they didn't open them back to full capacity. And so the lumber is skyrocketing. In fact, I have a chart, I'll try to have that on the screen, where you can see lumber is much higher. So the producer price index for softwood lumber, this is a US Bureau of Labor statistic. It's up just over 430, something like that. whereas last year it hovered around half that, 225, 250, something like that. So labor costs are much, much higher. I saw a recent article that said the average price of a home to build is $24,000. And so that plus steel costs are up 20%. So that's an interesting monthly change of steel price. Steel mill products prices are off the charts. Crude oil, other building materials. So hear me on this. How does a builder sell inventory? Well, they buy the material and they lock a price in with a consumer to build a house out in the future. Well, how does a builder feel about the fact that in the future, the price of what they need might be much higher than what they locked in with the consumer? Now, obviously, large builders are probably dealing with this better than the small builders. But I mean, can you imagine if you're an independent guy just building 5 to 10 houses? Like, how do you slate in, you just bump the price 20% and hope that, the cost of the material by the time you need it doesn't exceed? I mean, you could obviously warehouse it, but you can't warehouse everything. Storing the materials till you actually need it on the job site. I mean, nobody's doing that. The reality is you have that going on. And then let's go back to the original picture. What is the central planners? What is the government? What are the puppeteers of our market going to do with the market? Well, some of the things that I've reported on the past, this past Friday, Richmond Fed president was on TV saying that there's a lot of momentum in the economy, told this on CNBC. He said, we're going to have a strong summer, we're going to have a strong fall, pent-up demand comes back in the economy as the vaccine rolls out, and all those things are true. In fact, I believe that while we have massively high demand in Florida right now, massively low inventory, in fact, it's record low, that we're going to end up seeing the vaccinations hit, particularly in places like up north, where there's a lot more hesitancy to purchase homes, and those people are coming. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Second home purchases are off the charts, and Florida is obviously going to become a benefactor of that. So into the fall, I don't see anything softening the housing market even towards the end of this year. So the narrative about a housing crash is not even in the realm. There's nothing stopping this, okay? Jerome Powell came out and said that the Fed will consider the rise of inflation as temporary, but the Fed will not do anything about it. So the Fed is not going to stop any of the economic growth, any of the surge in inflation, and they're going to let it continue. As I mentioned, mortgages are up 70 basis points. Mortgage refinances have dropped. So here's the other thing. When the Fed dropped the interest rates in December, mortgage refinances, applications for people just getting refinances drop. But get this, that's only for rate and term refinances. That's when people go to a lender and say, I'm going to go and refinance my mortgage. The ones that are taking cash out, so there's a whole lot of people that are still applying for cash out refinances. So think of it this way. Rates went up. People that were just getting rate and term refinances, the amount of those people just trying to tune into a better rate disappeared. The business went away. Dramatic drop. The people that were actually going to the bank saying, wow, rates are low, but I also want to use my house as an ATM, that number has not really changed. So you still see a high number of people cashing out of their equity of their home. And this is probably even stimulating more buying. Okay. And I'll kind of cover this in another video, which is the fact of people are using the cash out of their home, maybe go buy a second home, but not move in out of their first home yet. Okay. So you have this interesting thing where there's potentially shadow inventory. If people actually own homes, they're in a position where they want to buy something else. They just go and buy it and hold the other home. And you'd say, well, Jared, don't they have holding costs? Yeah, but the home appreciation is going up faster than the holding cost. Okay. And that's something that's worth looking at. But the reality is this, as you look at all these things on the whole, this is what I really want to punch home, is you are in a position, if you do not own a home, from very, very near future being completely frozen out for good. And here's the danger, okay? Right now in the marketplace, the way it is, you've got massive home appreciation. So for instance, in the Central Florida marketplace, our homes went up 16% since the year prior. Exact same home, up 16%. Interest rates plummet last year, and then they spike. So when interest rates climb like 70 basis points, meaning, 0.7 of 1%, almost an entire percentage point, they climb since December. Not only do you feel a loss of value, you feel a loss of, man, these homes look crappier than they did when I was shopping 4 months ago and looking online. So essentially you're getting less value for the price point because of inflation, right? It's just what happens. Your dollar goes less as far. But the second thing is your payment's going up. So now you don't have a $300,000 purchase power with the same interest rate. Your interest rate went up, so now you're at $280,000. So now $300,000 where you were looks worse because prices are higher, but now $280,000 multiplies that. And here's the thing that I would tell you. Listen to this. The way the market is going, okay? People tell me all the time, Jared, what's going to happen to the housing market? The way I equate the housing market right now and the way the planners are running our world, this is everywhere. This isn't just America. This is the same story and narrative on every continent. All the central planners on this planet have decided that we're collectively going to inflate the crap out of our market, okay? And I'm talking just real estate. So now there are some countries, there's a nominal few that are actually reining that in and doing things to hinder certain buyers from buying. Like they're trying to keep speculators out of New Zealand or something like that. You have those kinds of things. But listen to this. In Central Florida, in any of these marketplaces in the US, you have, the marketplace, I kind of equate it to a car. And this car is running down the road. And things happen, right? There was drama that caused the engine to kind of get beat up. But the way the planners are working on this is while there's like issues, right? Underlying issues, 10 million people still out of jobs, and there's got to be economic woes and people that don't have the same income structures that they had pre-COVID. This, with all the stimulus is buoying things, but like think of it this way. The car had like one of those refueling jets that flies over the car and kind of they drop it down an engine and they take the old engine out. This car is still going 150 down the freeway, and it's starting to clang, and the engine's starting to sputter, and the planner's got the pedal down on the floor. The government's got the pedal. The Fed Reserve Chair has got the pedal down, and the pedal is going to stay down. Okay, and everything that they can do is going to keep that car down on 150. And even while it's going, when the engine started to ping and bang, that mid-flight engine flew, the mid-flight plane flew over the car, pulled the engine out, put a new one in, right? And now that one's overheating now, and it's like pinging and banging, but it's still going down the road, and nobody there's no pit stops. There's no natural rejuvenation of the car. And the road always ends eventually, right? But there's no end in sight right now, okay? And so if you imagine the way, this analogy, there's no intention of, and there's no marketplace changes in sight over and above what's already happening. So what I'm saying is it's going to get hotter, okay? If you're watching videos that say it's going to crash, I'm telling you the opposite. Okay? And if I could have a narrative that would be like, that's that awesome, a lot of that's sensational to draw eyeballs, I would say it. But the reality is, the people that are in extreme delinquency, the people that are having economic woes with their homes, all those houses are staying under wraps. Easy money is still coming out of the government. Stimulus 3, Stimulus 4, the rest of the plans are being made to pour capital back into the economy. And what I fear the most is that, number one, you do not need to sit on the sideline. It's a dangerous place. As much as it is brain damage to try and buy a house in this market, you need to try. As much as I know you're going to feel like, I hate the house. It's not what I want. It's tiresome. The flip side is you are going to be in the rental market where what's going to happen? You're going to save your money. Money's worthless, okay? Your money, savers are losers in the economy we're in. When the car is overheating, that means dollar buys nothing because the marketplace is being inflated. The Fed just said it. I'm not going to stop inflating the economy. That's how people with cash in the bank go broke. Okay? The reality is, if you're stuck on the sidelines and you're renting, here's the next thing that's going to happen. A whole lot of renters are going to give up, and they're going to do what? They're going to go compete in the rental market. And so far, the rents have not kept up with home prices. They haven't for 10 years. That means there's a lot of ground to make up on rents. That means if there's a whole lot of people that are going to decide to get into the rental market, then that's going to cause pressure and competition in a whole new way. Okay? And the sad thing is, I actually think that, as you look at the economy, you look at what the goals are, I think there's a lot of people in high places, that people that manage the Fed people, that are the central bankers, the central government. These folks don't care if there's a ton of people in rental situations. Okay? They don't care. They don't care if you never own a home. They don't care if you ever get to the first rung of the ladder to get to the dream. In fact, I believe that there's a lot of that is in the planning. Okay? That part of the plan, it's just out there. Like if you go and read, for instance, the World Economic Forum, which is visited by presidents, it's visited by all the prime ministers, visited by heads of state, heads of every company. They meet every year. One of the things they put out about the plan for the world in 2030 is that you will be a renter. And the reality is practically every country on the planet is falling in line. They're all doing the same thing. They're all pushing the price. They're all making the idea, the reachability of home ownership, it's getting pushed out of reach. And I think we're at a point where you don't see it come back. Okay? You're not going to see it come back. You're not going to see it come down. Like what is being done doesn't become undone. Okay? Unless there's a difference in plan. But if the plan is that you don't own anything, why would they erase it? Why would it come down? So the point is, being an owner, you have the ability to be on the ride. Okay? If you don't own anything, you're in trouble. And that means if you go to sell something, think about what you're going to do with the cash. Because you don't want to be in cash. Cash is a bad idea right now. But anyways, that's my take on the marketplace. But stay tuned. I got some exciting updates, particularly about where the market is going. Where's the economy? Where's the supply chain? Why is the supply chain getting squeezed? Who's buying all the real estate? And I think you're going to be interested to know that the people that are buying it aren't going to be selling it anytime soon. Which means if you don't get in, the time for you to get into the marketplace is fleeting. And if you can't get in it, you can't move up within it. Okay? That's just a fact. So I wish it was a more exciting update. I think it is exciting from the aspect that if you are going to have the emotional juice to get in, it's going to be good for you in the long run. But it's going to take some stones. It's going to take a smart agent. It's going to take a broker that knows what they're doing. And I'm messing around about that, but it's true. Like new agents in today's market are getting squeezed. Home buyers that think they can do it without an agent are definitely being let down consistently. And at the same time, I'm telling you, as hard as it is, if you are a renter, you need to do it now, because the amount of demand in the rental market is coming. It's going to change, and there's no controlling the rent. The rent is going to grow. It's going to climb. It's overdue. And I fear that once the market freezes you out, I don't know that you're coming back. That's it. That's my exciting update.